What's up guys, Shawnthebro here, and today we are back for another episode of the side-scroller live stream tutorial. Today we're going to be covering lives, dying, checkpoints, and respawning. So we do already have a number of hits until we get killed. So we do have the dying functionality in, but it doesn't do anything at this point. It plays an animation, and that's it. We don't ever go any farther than that. So what we should do today is add lives. So we have, hit markers, not hit markers, sorry. We have hits that we can take, and then we have these moments of like, okay, if we're out of health, then we need to decide what we want to do. We can bring the character back to a checkpoint or some other safe point that potentially they set up or is recognized by the level, or we could just kill the player, give them game over, anything like that. So we're going to be covering both the scenarios today. I see something. Hey Grandma, nice to see you. It popped up in the chat here, but I couldn't see it very well since I was in Streamlabs. Nice to see you, thanks for coming by. We got started a little bit earlier today. Instead of waiting until the stream starting was up, I just wanted to get started because I want to do a few extra things at the end, so I want a few extra minutes. Hey, nice to see you, Snatch, and thank you so much for coming by. I really appreciate that, buddy. Alright, so let's get started by showing off what we did last time. So first of all, we already have a pretty cool thing here. We have the ability to wear armor, we have shops, equipment, collectibles, enemies with actual AI. If you just, I don't know if I jumped on him and killed him, or if I knocked the border onto him. I think I just jumped on him and killed him, which is pretty sweet if you ask me. We have the shop, we have consumables. We have all sorts of stuff going on. We have level, and the level is going to the main character, remember that. We have multiple characters we can switch between. And this guy gets all the experience. He's the main character. So yeah, we had a bit of a crazy episode last time where we made it so there's 3 characters you can switch between. It's a pretty cool thing. We do need to change the experience to work for the character that gets the kill, but other than that, I think we're good. And today, yeah, we'll be setting up checkpoints today. So, with the multiple characters, it might be a little bit weird, but I am going to try and follow through with this since you guys wanted to see the multiple characters and being able to control them. I think following through, being able to see all the things we can do and how you handle it in these situations where you have multiple characters you have to account for is a good thing. So let's do it. I think the audio is good, but please let me know if anyone has any issues. First of all, we can fix the character pretty quickly or the experience for the correct character pretty quickly if we knew what character it was that was the one that was getting the experience. Let me see here. So we have the character index. So I believe every character has their index, right? And that's how we set it up. I think that's how we set that up. So I think it's we spawn them and we update the character index in the game mode. I do all this genuinely without any planning because I want it to be more natural. So yeah, we set the character index on that character after we spawn them. So okay, we have the character index variable we can use here. So let's go to our where we gain experience, which is going to be in the zombie BP, or it might be in the zombie code class. I think it's in the BP. I think we. Maybe not. Let's go to base enemy really quickly. Oh no, we do it right here in the code. Okay, cool. So give EXP to player. It is going to, remember, we were looking at this and we needed to pass in a character index. That's the only way we would know what character was getting the experience. So now what we need to do is grab the character that killed the enemy, so probably the last one to take damage, or perhaps all of them, give them all experience, and then set that as the value here. So just to catch up, we'll be quick on this, but I do want to show, we set this up last time, I just apparently never assigned it. So we have the player index in the give EXP to player, which is when the base enemy is killed. We should determine what character reference, or at least the character index, that was the last one to attack the enemy when they died, and then give the experience to that player. So we call take damage here, okay? And the only way we know how to do that is from this Twitch game character. This Twitch game character was the actor that collided with, and we are calling take damage on that character. So alternatively, when we're attacking the enemy, like here, when we hit with the attack collider, we're casting against, well, technically we're using the paladin character here, as opposed to the Twitch game character, but you can see that we have our character reference here. So when we call take damage, we have a damage, and we trigger the death logic, which then calls die. And then in die, we have the give EXP to player. So what we're going to need to do is pass along the character that hit them. Either we could keep a reference to it, or we could just keep the index of the last character that hit them. That could be good for a few things. If you have an enemy that's going to aggro a certain enemy, and you have multiple characters you can play as, you know, you hit him with one, he targets the character with that index. So it wouldn't be a bad thing to have. So that, as far as I'm concerned, it's a very viable method. We could also just, if we only want to do it for this, all we want to do is pass along the character index through all these. They're both pretty good. It's not really a big deal one way or another. So I think we will just do the character index. I don't necessarily think we need well, we would pass in to take damage and have the character index, and that kind of is just the last one that hit them. If that's the case, it would always be take damage. So I think that's okay. I think we can handle it just like this. So let's add. I'm trying to determine what I want to call this. Character that hit last. I think I'll just call it character index. I think we all understand what it is. Let me move this a little bit closer so I don't have to look all the way over there. I think we all understand what exactly this is. Now to do this, it's going to be not quite as simple as that. I'm going to have to go and change the take damage function. Alright, and then we will need to, so here we have take index, character index, and when we trigger death logic, this is also going to need the character index. This one's not so important, we could do it without, but I wanted to do this so that we could have visual effects and things like that. We're going to pass along the character index to the trigger death logic. So because we are going to do it this way, then I'll just keep passing. It's not really a big deal, but you don't want to pass so many things through if you don't have to. In this case, it's okay, because this is probably the only one I'm ever going to do with the base enemy. Like, this will be the base logic. Okay. So then we pass the character index through to trigger death logic, which then is going to finally pass it into die. Just like that. And then instead of giving this a 0 to go to player 0, it's going to go to the character index that we give it. just like that. So it's pretty simple in terms of actual logic. It's a little more than we needed to do, but since we're only going to be doing it for this case, I think it's perfectly okay. And now this should work as long as this function is set up correctly. Let me go to it and make sure that it is set up. Player's array player index is the one to gain experience. So it is set up correctly, and we should be able to play now. That should fix that issue, and then we can get into the actual stuff, which will be dying. Well, again, we can die, but what happens after we die? Let me check this real quick. I just got an important email that I need to be looking out for, so. Okay, cool. Alright, sorry about that. So let's get back into it. Let me put that back there. And all we need to do is in our zombie, where we were calling take damage when we were dealing damage to them, we need to be able to pass along the proper information. So which one is that? This is the attack collider. Oh, we're actually calling take damage on them there, so we must be doing it in the base character. Sorry, no, I'm kidding. Okay. Alright. So, the paladin character must be the one that's actually dealing the calling set damage, or take damage. Yes, it is. Okay. That's perfectly fine. Nothing really changes here. All that changes is we're going to pass in the character index of the character. Just like that. That's honestly good enough. This is a little uglier than I would like, but it's okay. And now we'll pass in the character reference to the take damage function. And we should get the experience correct based off of what character it is. That ends up... Okay. We should get the experience based off what character it is that kills the enemy. And as you can see, this character is now the one that's gaining experience, despite the fact that it was not this character last time. So let's switch our character. You can see that he has no experience currently. And if we go and defeat this guy, his bar should increase. And then when we switch between them, you can see that these two have experience, this one does not. That issue is fixed. Alright. So, now, what we can do from here is start our episode, our official episode. I'm going to close Unreal because we're going to need to add a few things to the code. We're going to want to add basically an amount of lives and potentially a spot, a reference to a spot that we can respawn back at. So first things first, let's add number of lives. I don't think we have anything like that. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't add anything. Hey, nice to see you. I have no idea what that says, but I'm happy that you are here. So we are going to add lives. I'll just call it lives. And we will set the lives to be maybe 3 to start. Doesn't really matter. Actually, I want to put this up with the health. I like to keep things organized. Oops. I like to keep things organized sometimes. You know, it's good all the time, right? But sometimes it doesn't really matter. Things like health and lives, I feel like, just go together. So, there we go. Health, lives. I'm a bit late. No, that's okay. Actually, the majority of people that end up coming in come in around 7 o'clock. So you're pretty early. Excuse me, what have I missed? You actually haven't missed almost anything. I was fixing the experience. I'll show you really quickly. I was fixing the experience for the different characters. So in the last stream we had where we could switch between the characters, and the experience was only going to player character 0, because that's how we set it up in the past. Now that we have to worry about different character instances, we have to be a little bit more careful. So in the last episode we made character indices, or you know, character index variable, and so we can swap between our different playable characters in the scene. Not only is the not only is the character index useful for that, but if you're actually doing multiplayer, if we want to make this true multiplayer, not just switching between characters, it's good to have an index of the character. So you can do that with just the player controller number, or actually have something on the character. If you're going to have multiple players who can control multiple characters, it's good to have both the player controller and the character index. So like if in the fighting game, for example, you have 2 players, and they also have, you know, a duo or a trio team of fighters, so 2 or 3 fighters on a team, then you're going to want both. So it's not a bad practice to learn anyway. But you haven't really missed anything. I'm just going to show you. I can hit this guy. Boom. And this guy gets experience. When I go to the next character, the character has 0 out of 5 experience. But if I go and I defeat the next enemy, he gets experience. When I go to the third character, he's got no experience, and these guys have retained the experience they had. So that's all. We were separating that. We were finishing that up from last episode because I was cut, you know, I had to cut it short because of some things I had to do. And now I think you might have seen it, but all we did was add lives to our character. Because we're going to go over dying, respawning, taking away our lives. We already have dying where it plays an animation and you can't move. But that's all it does. We can't ever actually get back into the game. It doesn't reload the level. It doesn't do anything like that. So first of all, once we die, it's pretty simple, but we have to subtract a life. Now, you know, if you wanna make this really clean, if you want to allow them to respawn or go to a game over screen, if that's how we're handling this, then you could do if lives minus 1 is less than 0 or less than equal 0, right? You could check before you get rid of it, because if it is, like, okay, so here's really what it should be. This would be the most efficient way. If you check if lives minus 1 is greater than 0, that means you still have another life that you can lose. So then you could subtract a life from that. Otherwise, this means that you're getting a game over. So we will say, I don't know if I want to call it game over necessarily, but I might just call... ran out of lives. I'm gonna call it this because it's not necessarily a game over. Maybe if you run out of lives, you have to go back to the start of the level with a checkpoint. You don't necessarily have to have like a game over screen. So I think game over is a little bit out there, but I think ran out of lives is good. Regardless of what you're doing, it explains it. This would technically be the most efficient way, or one of the most efficient ways. You could do this. Technically, just a neat little thing. You can technically do things like this. It will subtract the lives first, check if it's greater than 0, and then, you know, you can do something else if you want to. Like, you won't even have to. Let me just show you, because, I mean, it's kind of cool while we're here. So you could do this. If you subtract a life, because you're subtracting a life anyway. If it's less than or equal to 0, then you just call it ran out of lives. So it's a cool little way, you know, code I always think is something fun where you can play around with it. You can see how you can change things and make it work the way you want. So this will subtract a life and check if it's greater than or equal to 0. Or, sorry, less than or equal to 0. If it is less than or equal to 0, you no longer have any lives, so we're going to say ran out of lives. So we can have it set up just like this if you want. Now we need to make a function. I'll call it ran out of lives. We don't really need a character index in this case because this is on the character. The character is the one running out of lives, not the game mode with the character index or anything like that. So we can just assume this. If we did want to be able to call this elsewhere or maybe from the game mode, you would want to pass in the character index. We say ran out of lives. And then else though, we can respawn them. So see, you can set this up however many times you want. Now, this is cool. Like, this is probably the try-hard method, I almost want to call it. Really, I think, like, for me, I probably wouldn't do all that. I would probably do lives -1 just because it's a little bit easier to understand what's going on. But I'll show you it working, and then, you know, if you guys end up liking it, we'll just keep it. So we have -- lives to subtract to decrement, to lose 1 life. We check if it's less than or equal to 0. If it's less than or equal to 0, then we ran out of lives. Else, then we want to respawn. And since we have more lives, then we have more than 1 life, we're going to run out of all of our lives less than we are going to respawn. So because of that, I'm going to switch this again. I was just doing it as an example to show you. If this is greater than 0, we're going to want to respawn. See that? So you can't, you know, it's not going to make that much of a difference. But it's just the principle of it. You got to try and think about this ahead of time when you can. And, you know, I'm not always the best at this either. It's not like, you know, your game is going to lag. It's not probably going to lag almost at all. But little things you can do here and there. You see, I know I'm going to respawn more times than I'm going to get a game over because I spawn, when I start the level, I have 3 lives. So if I lose 2 lives, I'm going to respawn twice. And when I lose my 3rd life, I will run out of lives. Anyway, that's how we're handling that. So the other function we're going to need for today is void respawn. Okay. And that's pretty simple. Now our respawn/die logic is basically set up. I'm going to have to make these 2 functions so that we know what we want to do. I will make them probably right under die just so we can keep track of everything. So void a Twitch game character respawn and ran out of lives. Okay. And at this point, you know, it doesn't really matter how we want to handle this. There's so many ways we could do it. I'm gonna go with, let's have an actor in the scene that has a static mesh. It'll be, you know, it'll have a trigger box somewhere that if the player walks into it, they get a checkpoint. Then once that checkpoint is enabled, they cannot get a previous checkpoint. Like, you can't walk back from the level and trigger the same checkpoint because it's already been triggered. If the character dies, they go back to the previous checkpoint, and then once they run out of lives, we're going to restart the level on them. Or something like that. You know, maybe we will pop up a game over screen or something, but you get the point. So with that, we may also want to keep a location, a vector of our last checkpoint spot. So we can do that. Try and keep things in order of size. So we could actually do it like here. We can call this I will call it last checkpoint location. It should describe it more than enough. And, you know, you can set up a default for this if you'd like. You can set it to be 000, but if your stage doesn't happen to start at 000, it doesn't really matter. So what we'll want to do is when we spawn the characters, we will want to keep track of their player start locations or something along those lines. Cheers, hey, nice to see you. Glad to have you, Unreal YouTuber. Okay, so cool. For respawn, we will want to set actor location. So I don't normally do this in code. You won't normally see this all that often. Which this is going to take a... I think I can just do it like that. I think I can just ignore the rest and just say false because it's... Yeah, okay, they do that. Cool. So when we respawn, we can set our actor location to the last checkpoint location. And when we run out of lives, I don't know if I can actually just call open level. I think I have to, like, get world, maybe, open level. I have not I have not done a level thing in code in a long time. So if we're going to do that, I would have to look that up. But here we go. So here's set actor location. This is what's going to happen when we respawn. What's good? Hey, thanks for asking. I'm just very excited, quite frankly, about the side-scroller series because I have all these ideas now, things I want to do. And Mundi was sending me, you know, assets I could use, which I don't even know, you know, like, I don't know when I'll put in assets, if I ever do, because it depends on the tutorials, like how long they go. But it just having access to things is cool. Having a bunch of ideas, a bunch of things you want to work on is cool. So I'm doing pretty well. Thanks for asking. I'm really glad that you're here, and I appreciate you coming by. So thank you. And yeah, let me know, obviously, if you have any questions or if you want me to kind of catch you up to where we are. But basically, we are still, remember in the last episode we were going over switching characters and possessing and unpossessing pawns. So now we have different characters we have to take care of, and we're going to let them die and respawn at the correct spot and all this other stuff. So we have last checkpoint location, which is where we're going to respawn once we die, as long as we have other lives. But we need to get this value from checkpoints that we have in the game. We could make a code class for them. I am going to just make a blueprint for the checkpoints. I don't really have a mesh right now that I could use, so it doesn't really matter what we use. But, yeah. Sounds good. Alright, so we have a bunch of stuff in here. We may need to clean up some of this. We're starting to get a little bit ugly here. Yeah, I mean, we could just clean up some of these. We don't need all these guys in here, I don't think. Delete 2 of them. Let's move the other ones a little bit farther over. That's not good. Hold on. I was thinking of following along but doing a UE5 one of these series. Go for it if you want. Oh, that's why I had this. Go for it if you want. UE5 really is not a lot different from a programmer standpoint, or even just a logic standpoint for a lot of things. There's definitely differences, and there's definitely performance gains in some places. But in terms of doing things, it's probably pretty much a straight copy, other than a anything that got deprecated, or maybe a few functions that got added. I was actually debating turning this series in particular into an Unreal Engine 5 early access series, because this series is more experimental. I don't plan for these videos. I plan for the topic I want, and then I just do it on the spot. So it would be kind of cool to learn Unreal Engine 5 on the spot. I don't want to convert the other series because, you know, I'm worried about if there's bugs or things that come with Unreal Engine 5. Kind of adds a little bit of adds complexity. So, but this one in particular is just freeform. So I think it's a good idea if you want to try Unreal Engine 5. I might swap to it at some point for the side scroller specifically. Okay, but we moved our characters over, or enemies over, so we have all this space. What I'm going to do is set up a few checkpoints. Let's make a new object. I'm actually, like, I could make like a base object, but really, that has too much information. We don't need all that. I'm going to just make a new actor, or a child of an actor, and it's going to be, I'll call it base checkpoint. I like calling things base because if you want to have a different style of checkpoint, you know, or a checkpoint that has, oh, you can re-trigger this one, or you can only trigger it this direction. You know, sometimes you have multiple, like you can run back and forth. Maybe you want to trigger it one way, not the other. Like Trials did that very well for some of their maps. So, you know, I'm always trying to think, I always like using base, even if I never make anything else. Worst case scenario, I just have the word base in front of things and I don't need it, but... Alright, so we're gonna add a static mesh, and it can be called static mesh, quite frankly. It doesn't really matter what we put here, but this is going to be our checkpoint. Now, I don't want all these wonderful assets to go to waste that Everglades gave me, so I may use one of them, but I'm trying to figure out exactly what a good checkpoint thing would be. We do have a lamp. Lamp ceiling? There's like a hanging lamp, I guess, which is fine. Weird way that they put that. Lamp wall. Yeah, weird. Okay. I'm just gonna rotate you and make you like a regular lamp. That was the wrong direction. There we go. Cool. So this is gonna be our checkpoint. We could like even enable it and disable it, turn the light on when we walk by, cool stuff like that. So what's this? I think everything's at 1200, correct? Yes. Alright, so let's just drag one of these bad boys in here. And there we go. This is our checkpoint symbol. Now, the logic for it is actually quite simple, so we don't really need to make this be the thing with collision, so we could drag it a little bit farther back if we wanted. I'm going to have it basically a trigger box. It's going to be a box collision, and it's going to be checkpoint trigger. And basically, if the character walks into this at any point, then they will trigger the checkpoint. That's probably way too big. You know, maybe I don't want it going under, actually. So let's bring this back to 1. We'll make it a little bit bigger than that. So what's this? This is like... This is 3, maybe? Okay, that's good. I mean, it's okay if it goes a little bit under, I feel. You just don't want people, like, grabbing it from another level. Something like that's probably good. And then we'll make it a little bit wider, too. And then I'll give it some depth, just so if for whatever reason we want to place it somewhere different, we can do so and they can still run into it. Now the trigger box does not have to be on the lamp. Like, I'm probably going to put it like this, actually. You see that? That way I can put the lamp in the background as a background object. And then we can actually just set this when we go in. And so it's important to note, see this? This is the default rotation for it, so we will want to rotate this. I think this is the right way. I could be totally wrong though. Oh, hold on. The whole thing. Oh no, we only care about the... Because we don't care about where the thing is. Okay. Did I not actually... adjust it? Oh, because I already... Really? No, I thought it did. Does it not? It's fine if it doesn't. We can easily adjust it there. I'm just more trying to get it so that we don't have to adjust it every time. I'm surprised that did not change anything. That is not the right thing. It's not this, is it? No, that's rotating it like that. Is it the X? I don't think so. Okay, apparently I'm just being silly. But anyway, we'll just rotate the whole thing when we get in there. I thought I could just rotate this and it would be... It's not a perfect square, but I didn't see it changing at all. Maybe it was close enough. Okay, been trying to do a Heroes 3 move system with native nav mesh, not specifically hex-based, just a grid setup using nav mesh. I'm not sure if this is the way to approach. Any thoughts? I'm not actually sure what Heroes 3 is, however, just a grid setup. I mean, you could definitely do that. Nav mesh in a grid setup would definitely work. I'm not sure there's the... I don't know if it's the... I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'll just tell you when I don't know. I don't know if it's the best way or not. I've seen people use a grid setup with a nav mesh, though, so it is 100% a possible solution. Should do the checkpoint lamp, have a glow orb so you jump and smash. Right? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Like, we could do fun stuff with this. Shovel Knight's a good game, by the way. Cool feature of Shovel Knight, although you would have to have an object. You would have to have it as a object instead of an autosave. Oh yeah, no, that's okay. That's perfectly fine. We can change it as much as we want. I don't know why I can't rotate. Like, I think maybe I did rotate it and the size was actually just too close, so I thought I didn't. But I'm just gonna rotate it in here. It's the wrong way. Let's do 70 or -90, either way. All right, so what I'm gonna do is that, and then basically, you know, you could put it, you know, if you want to put the lamp in the middle, but really what I'd like to do is actually, I'd like to have things in the background when I'm working a side scroller, like when we did Bad Manners. We had things in the background with just the trigger box as opposed to colliding with the actual object, and sometimes, just because, you know, if you're going for that 3D effect, it's a little bit different. We can still do all the same stuff we can do. We just use this box for collision instead of the mesh. The collision should already be correct on this, and it is. Oh, Might and Magic. Yeah, I know that. Let me look at Heroes 3 specifically. Is it any different from... Oh, I'm actually not too familiar with this. I was. Might Magic sounds so familiar. Okay. As for this, though, you're saying you don't necessarily want to do the hex, but you do want to do a grid system. You can definitely do a nav mesh. Basically, you could do that. Hex-based movement system. Army spawn on each side and have movement points. Yeah, for that, you can definitely do a nav mesh if you want to animate the walking and have them actually walk over there. I've seen that done with splines as well. You can, in the construction script, like, generate... This is really high level, because I don't actually know how, but someone made chess where it was animated. And they had, in the construction script, they were actually using splines. They had the spline... They had the object follow along the spline to the next spot. Basically, each spot had a spline to their the other spots that they could go to, and it was actually constructed after each move. Now, personally, I think that's probably a pretty heavy approach, but it worked fine and it looked good. So you could do that. You could definitely do a nav mesh for any sort of movement, even if it's not AI. Like if it's just you just want to automate this movement, you can definitely use a nav mesh. Doesn't matter if it's grid system or hex-based to my knowledge, it should be the same either way. Use a hex-based movement system, army spawn each side, and have movement points. Yep, okay. Hey, that's a cool idea. What was that, the splines? I mean, it was good. I wasn't downplaying it. It was good. It played wonderfully fine. I thought it was a little heavy because you have to generate all the splines every time. But if they only have certain movements, it's not like you can go to every piece, right? So say it's your move, so you generate your splines. This piece can go to it has these rules, so these are the splines we generate pieces to. It works pretty well, at least it did there, and I imagine it would here, whether it's hex-based, whether it's grid-based. So that one should be a pretty safe bet. I don't know the performance-wise on it, but, you know. I don't think it would be too bad. Splines are usually pretty easy. We don't use them a lot for work, but the one spot where we did use them, I think they had put like 50 in, and there was no like frame drop or anything. So you have a pretty good amount. Like you're probably not going to need too many more than that, if that many. It's probably a very viable option. All right, so we have our trigger box here, and quite frankly, it's very simple what we're going to do. We need a spot to spawn our character, and to do that we need to know where in this box they're going to spawn when they come back. Now what you can do is assign a variable that holds the transform, or excuse me, the location, or you can get the actual location from the object. The only problem with that, not really a problem, the only thing you have to be careful of is you need to make sure that when you are getting the actor location, it's the actor location that a character can actually stand on. We gave it a pretty big trigger box here, and that's on purpose. But if we get actor location, it's going to get the center, I believe. It has been a while. I think it'll get this spot right here where you can see all the points, the center of this object. So if you don't want that, you will have to account for that. You can either, again, force it by a variable. You can add an offset if there's a specific amount you want every time. There's a bunch of stuff you can do with it. But if you're not going to have the object as itself be collision, like I'm not here, I have the trigger box, then we're going to want to make sure that the value is good for us. Yeah, probably get deleted after movement anyway at the spline. Yeah, so that's exactly it. To my understanding, it was that they got created when they got created for that pawn, for that, like, again, this was chess, so for that chess piece, when it was that, for all the, all the moves were known prior to clicking on piece. When you click on the piece, the splines for that piece were generated, and then when you clicked off of it or when you used your move, they were deleted. So it was a few step process, but the actual spline part was only when you had the ability to move that piece and to the pieces it could go to, and then they were removed after. It's pretty smart stuff. Alright, so yeah, I think here, like, I do think the center would be good. The only thing, I have to make sure that they spawn back at the 1200 location. And there's a very simple way to do that, so it's not a problem. But let's try it. So we have this checkpoint trigger, and I want to, on component begin overlap. Basically, if the character has walked within this point, we're going to set their variable of the location to be this location. So let's make sure it's any of the characters we want. Since we don't need the character blueprint in this case, we just need to cast to the Twitch game character. And we can grab the last checkpoint location for this character. That's why I'm doing it on the character, because if you have more than one character, you know, maybe you want different checkpoints for them. For whatever reason, you know, if you don't, then fine. You don't need to do it on the character. You could have it on the game mode, wherever. But I'm going to keep it here. I'm going to pass this along. Now, I think everything's in place. We'll have to see. So there is one minor thing that I want to fix, because this is just super annoying to have to jump over this every time. So I'm going to have to move you out. So let's move you over. Let's move you over here. I don't think I'll get bad size there. No, it's fine. Alright, so I don't actually have a... Oh, I never updated the HUD to match the character either, so I will need to do that. But okay, I died, and see, it instantly teleported me, and it never set me back to dead. That was my fault, because I forgot that. So what we should do is probably call this function not when we run out of lives. We should probably trigger an event that waits until the death animation is there. That way it can destroy us and respawn us, or just move us and set us in the correct state. So there's a few things we can do to make this look nicer. Let's close Unreal for a second, and let's do that. When we respawn, before we even set the actor location, we should make sure that our character is no longer dead. Let's go ahead and make them default. Back to the living. You could have a respawn animation, of course, and that would be good. Now the other thing, you saw how he also fell into the ground. So, you know, with that, we either want to make sure that there's always something to stand on, or we want to push them out when they spawn. Personally, I had mixed results with this on the Unity project when we worked on Bad Manners. You know, one thing we just decided to do was not have any ground underneath. That way the actor location was always above. And what I mean by that is, well, I closed it, so I'd have to open it back up. But was just basically arbitrarily raise where the value was of the trigger. That way it was up higher. Your character would still always hit it no matter what, and no one could ever tell there was a difference, but then you would spawn higher. It's a very easy fix, and it worked in every case we had. You could, again, the better fix would probably be to try and put him on the ground, make sure. It's whatever. You know, I never had a single issue with it. It would probably be considered a hack more than anything, but you know, it depends. If you have multiple characters and they have different heights, then you could start getting some trouble with it. in that case, we would definitely want to pull them out of the ground. For now, I'm going to probably just move the trigger up because I don't have multiple characters, and we can always push them out of the ground later. But if we want to do that at the end of the episode, if we have time, I'm totally down. It's not too bad. Unreal can actually do it for you if you know what to call. So we set the state back to default, and we can do this. We can set actor location, but there's something we can do. We can make an F vector. In this case, it should be fine, but in case you want to have different values, you know, maybe this lamp's closer, this lamp's farther in the background, you may want to make sure that you always have the right values for your location. I'm pretty sure this just goes XYZ like a regular vector would, but I can't trust it anymore because it doesn't for rotation, which is weird. So we don't have to break this up, okay? But what I want to do, I think it's the X value. We could set this to be a value that we know. Now, this is a little bit dangerous because if we were to do this, this would be a hard-coded value, and that would not be good. Since we have not been using anything based off of setting the X value to that level, then, you know, it's not exactly best to do it now. Or if we're going to do it now, we need to change it on everything. I want you to know that the option's here. However, we shouldn't need it, and I'll show you why. But we may need it, okay? We shouldn't need it, but we may need it. I will leave it like this because really this is the same thing. This is an F vector. If anything, this is a little bit worse because I'm like constructing a new F vector with these values, which you already have it. But I wanted to expose this so you kind of see how it works because we may need this 1200. So I'll leave it for now. So once we load back up, we are going to fix the issue with the spawning. Basically, we will move them out of the ground. Okay. So yeah, it goes in the center, and that's fine. You're like, the center is, you know, maybe the bottom of the lamp here, or wherever. You get my point. But the problem with that is that this trigger box, you know, the character, say this, the character, the center of the character spawns in the center of this, they can be in the ground. So like I said, you know, you can change things about it all you want. You can change the trigger box and be like this. And maybe shorten it, if we're gonna do that. Not that much, but something like this. Now this is something you could never avoid it. You know, your character would always walk into it. You could never go under it unless for some reason this was floating in some way. And is it an ugly solution? Yeah. But should it work? Also, yeah. As long as we're getting... Oh, I think I got the actor location, not the trigger box location. So that will not be as convenient as I want. Let me do something real quick. It might not be so bad with the actual trigger box location. That method is still viable if it is, because sometimes it is, but if it's not too bad, it might actually be okay. So I'll put this back here. Before we do, you know, we don't need to change multiple things at once. Let's grab this. Hey, what's up, Fi? Nice to see you. We can get the world location. And we can just set it right here. And now let's see if this is better. If not, then we'll move it up. But if it is, that's actually better on us, so we might as well check. Why did I don't have to jump up there anymore. Okay, so here we hit the checkpoint. Remember, the HUD is not updating properly because I forgot. And you can see we spawned right on the ground. Now, I don't have control over my character because I forgot to turn can move on again. But you could see I spawned right there. It actually reset the state and canceled out, which I thought was funny. But there you go. So I was actually incorrect. I did not need to do it there. But I have had to do that in the past, or maybe I made the same mistake in the past, And what you could do is just move up the object. If you move the center of it up, then the location will be up. If you don't want to do it arbitrarily, but it's still kind of a hack, so I'm glad we didn't have to do that. That's good news. All right, that's fixed. Now, next thing is I should set can move back to true when we respawn, because it can act in this case, because that is not good. But I want to take a look at the anim BP because I instantly canceled out of the death to go back to the default. Which can I do dead to idle? Oh, I actually can. Oh, okay. So I literally just canceled out of it like that. All right. So I will need a rule here. We could do it in code based off of timing, but really, in my opinion, the easiest way to do this, if we want to change the death animation ever, is just have either an anim notify on the death animation, or have a transition event once it's fully done transitioning to this. It says, you know, you can return to idle. So end transit. I can't remember exactly if this will do what I want it to. We might have to use the anim notify, but I think end transition is when it has actually entered the state, not when it's ended the state. So we can try it just by doing actually, yeah, what we could do is this. Fully blended state, left state. Yeah, I can't remember. Let's just try it. I'm going to call it this. I don't think it is going to be where we need it to be, but I'm going to see, because if it is, great. So we're just going to test this. We can do ended death animation, and we can just add a print string. It's pretty simple. We're just doing a test to see when this fires to know if we could actually use this or not. We can die to the first guy because we don't need to test anything else. We did not have a respawn location, but it actually never went into print string because it just did it so fast. We went from die to respawn so fast, but we didn't even cancel. So let me change that a bit. I'll tell you what we're gonna do. This is what we're gonna do. We are going to, instead of doing respawn dead and then set this to default, I'm not gonna do this yet. I'm going to let everything happen first. I will call an event like trigger respawn, and trigger respawn will wait until it'll basically tell it that we need to wait until the character is ready to be able to respawn. You know, their animation is complete. Again, we could do a timer in code and it would work, but if we want to change the death animation over, we have to change the timer. If we just have the anim notify there, we can just drag it where we want it, or we could use the transition rule and we'll be good. The Mighty Emperor, good name, and quite an honor that you're here. Thanks for making content like this. It really helps. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. I'm glad that it is helping, for real. I really appreciate you saying that. Let me know if you need anything. Alright, so I'm trying to think what the best way to do it is, because we could do it, we could put the anim notify, but I kind of want it to be a little bit better than that. I feel like there's a way where because I want it to go into, I don't want it to cancel out right away. Okay, I know what to do. See, I was making a little bit harder on myself than I had to. I can keep respawn how it is. We will have to call this later, actually, though. So I'll probably have to move these things out of respawn. I can leave that the way it is, but all right. Here, let's set this up. I'm gonna probably have to move this, unfortunately. I'll just put it in here for now, but I want to set the state first and then be able to act. So they can only act again after they have been set back to their default state. However, we don't want them to cancel out of the state they're in. So Sure, this will call respawn, it can set their state, but in the animation blueprint, we don't want to take the dead to idle transition until the dead animation is done, okay? So let me explain. Let's see, does it need to be... Alright, so we're going to make a code variable because I think that's actually the best way to do this here. Let's say, let's copy this, and let's make this one can return to idle. Alright, it's a little generic because we could use it in a few different spots, but can return to idle. And we are going to, we can set it to a default value of true. When we die, when we call die, we don't want to be able to return to idle until the death animation is done. So respawn can still go through, and it can do everything except we probably don't want it to set the location. In this case, I actually don't want to set connect to true here, I don't think. I think I probably just want to do can return to idle to be true. And that way we can set connect to be true when we want to. That way it's not instantly you respawn, you can move, but maybe you can wait for a second. Hey, nice to see you, Corey. Long time no see. How's it going? I like the excitement. I like all the exclamation marks. How are you doing, my friend? Let's see. So can return to idle. So can return to idle is going to be true. And we're going to use this boolean. Oh, wait, I said it to be true because I was looking at connect. It's going to be false here when we're trying to respawn. And we're going to set it to be true when we are done with the death animation. Then, on top of that, we are going to want to set the can act when we return to idle when we're fully blended, or if we have a respawning animation, which we don't, but I can grab one. That way... Again, you can't move right off the bat. It looks janky if you do it that way. Busy, 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 man. Hey, I mean, honestly, nothing wrong with that. Okay, I myself am a very busy person. I don't know why I like to do this to myself, because I'm like, man, I am tired. But then I can't stop, because I just love programming and making videos and stuff. In the state machine, dead to idle. This is good, okay, checking the state, but we don't want this to automatically be transition to. So we should check can return to idle. Well, do an and boolean. Okay. And now should be good. Yes, I'm really straightening those nodes. Okay, so now we will only take this if we can return to idle. So we will definitely get our butt beat for that, because we'll get hit by the zombie and then we'll just be permadeath, and we don't want that. So we need to determine when we're going to allow our character to return to idle. I think. I don't know. We have to test this though, because I'm actually not sure exactly where this pops up. Growth of the channel is sick, man. You moving along? Thank you so much. Yeah, things are going pretty well for real. Business talk. Yeah, things are going really well. I really enjoy making the content for this channel, so I'm glad other people are enjoying it. But yeah, I got on a solid schedule for Fridays and Sundays releasing videos for it, and it's just been really fun. And then streaming on Friday. The good thing about streaming on YouTube is, you know, I don't like with Twitch. It's kind of like, you know, if no one's here, maybe no one will ever see it. Which I do things like I play things on Twitch that I'm gonna have fun with anyway. So it's not the end of the world. But it's kind of sad. Oh man, I wish this person would have saw it. Whatever. when you do it on YouTube, it just gets uploaded as a video after, so then people can continue to enjoy it as time goes on. So I really do enjoy doing at least the programming videos on there. Oh, I shouldn't have killed him. I need to get killed. I've been hanging in the shadows watching the vids. Hey, that's fine. You know, it's funny. At work they tell me all the time. Really? So that was strange to me. I didn't think that it would still cancel if we couldn't take that state. So it's actually just because it doesn't like that this is happening right away. Alright, so here's what we're gonna do. I am going to... Yeah, that's so... We'll just have to call respawn at the end of dead. Alright, it's fine. Let's do it. We don't need can return to idle then, because we can't actually use it. Oh, anyway, so it's funny, they tell me at work, like my boss told me, it was like, yeah, I was watching your videos, I didn't want to say anything because I didn't know if you'd be okay with that. I was like, yeah, I think that's awesome. Okay, we don't need this. We do want, well, I'll leave connect out for now, since we might do it after respawn animation. So this is still good, we can still use this, but we are going to need to actually stop this for a second and allow the character to die and then go into respawn, because it wants to cancel out since it's doing it on the same update. So we're going to need a new function here, and we're going to say, we're going to make this not determine character death, but like determine death logic. Basically determine what we need to do once we die, and we'll just do it right like that. Determine death logic. And let's update this so that I am going to take all of this, put it right here with die that way. I'm going to need to make this blueprint callable, because we're going to call this once the death animation is finished. That way we don't have to do any arbitrary like delays or timers. I don't like doing that. So I think this is just a better way. We'll have an event that does it, and then we can call respawn from there. And then respawn will set the state back to default. Yeah, we might not want to set the actual location yet. We might want to do a respawning animation. But for now, what we will do is we will put it here just so we can see that it's working. I wish my boss was that cool. Yeah, I mean, no, all my bosses are cool. To give them credit, it's just, you know, the thing is, pretty much everyone is, there's certain things that everyone's cool with. And one thing that everyone has always been cool with is, I don't know why, but with me specifically, they love that I make the videos. Like, even if I'm making it and they don't understand it. It's always been something like, people come up to me from work. I'm like, it's so cool that you make those videos. I'm an artist on this and this. And I'm like, oh, cool. You know, like, they went out of their way to say it, even if they didn't know me. And I always thought that was cool. I appreciate that people really enjoyed that aspect, because for me, it really is fun. It's something I enjoy doing. So, the fact that people get excitement, like, knowing that I do it, they think it's cool, I think is awesome. Hey dude, hey, nice to see you, Enjoy. Glad you're here. I don't know, YouTuber's got a nice little, I think it's like a finger up, but it almost looks like a middle finger, I'm not gonna lie. Line of the day, determine what we need to do when we die. Correct. Determine what we have to do with this poor character's fate. Alright, so let's go back in here and we will trigger the logic. After every single one of your videos that I've been watching, I still find myself completely lost and I just enjoy listening. Well, thank you. I mean, on a serious note, thank you. What did we do wrong? Can return. Oh, yes, because we no longer need can return to idle. That was just going to be our fix, but it does not like that, so we're just going to avoid it entirely. Yeah, no, thank you. I mean, thank you for watching. the videos. Thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed, but thank you. It obviously does support me, and I want to teach whoever wants to learn. So whether you're listening to have fun, or hopefully my voice is soothing to you, or if it's just, you know, hopefully it is helpful or you can learn something from it, that is awesome. I really appreciate that. Hello everyone. Is I late? You are not late. We still have almost an hour, and I might go a little bit later today depending on, because I have some time tonight, so we'll see. I think it's a thumbs up, bro. I think it is a thumbs up, but when I first saw it, I was like, maybe Unreal YouTuber's not too happy with me right now. I didn't think anything bad, but I was surprised when I first saw it. Alright, now that we did that, we're going to have to remove this because this no longer exists. Do that. Move you over here and there. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I did not realize that that would happen. But now, you can see it. I will show you. Yeah, I get invincibility and we don't indicate it, so that's why sometimes you have this weird logic. You can see the character dies. Once the character is dead, we want to make sure that we can respawn the character. So we want to make sure that they can now return to idle, or now go to the respawn state. A good way, again, is either the anim notify, or if this is fully blended, we could do that too. I don't think, did it say hello? It must have. Hello. So see, it blends prior, which is what I thought, unfortunately. But that's okay. There's a few solutions to this. One, we could wait till it's fully blended, I believe. But I don't even want to do that. Honestly, what I like is, I like the, basically, having, I mean, this animation is so many frames. Basically, just having a frame, like, the thing is, I know at this point I'm good. If I don't want to set an arbitrary timer, then I can just pick a frame and do it. If you have a certain amount of time you want to wait, you'll want to set a timer before calling it. I made a special custom placeable you definitely would like to use in your works. Alright. Custom placeable. I wonder what it is. I would definitely like to see it. We're going to make a new notify. And I'm just going to call it respawn. Able to respawn or something like that. No, able to finished death animation. Something like this. This way we just know kind of if we finished it, if we can continue other logic. And then I will go into the event graph. I will get this anim notify. Just like that. And somewhere like there. That way it's a little bit more organized. And we can call off the character reference our, what was it, determine death logic. And now this will say, hey, we can respawn. Just like that. The voice is definitely soothing. I mean, that's good. I mean, on a serious note, that's actually really good. I hope that it is in some way. I appreciate that. So now look, we die, and then I don't have an actual spot. We never hit the lamp. So you saw we just spawned into oblivion and then died. But that's not the point. The point is that it waited until the death animation was complete, and then we actually spawned them back where they were supposed to be. That's good. That's actually working now. I never said when I die, connect to be false. I never said connect back to be true, though. I realized I took that out when I was trying to do the idle thing. So let's close this one more time. Let's set connect back to be true after this stuff. After they've been teleported. Alright, that's one thing we need to do. The other thing we have to do is we have to make sure when we teleport the character that the character is going to be teleported to a valid spot. So say we die before we hit a checkpoint. Well, we don't want to just spawn in the open like we just did. And a good way to do that is to grab the player start that the character spawned on and set the checkpoint location to that value. So if they die and that's the first thing they reached, that's all you're going to get. So let's load this up again. We will do that. And then after that, we will make sure that the player cannot go back to a previous checkpoint. So you can go forward in the level, get a checkpoint. If you've already triggered that checkpoint, then you can't re-trigger it. If you wanted, you could actually make an array or even use a database and determine, a data table, and determine how, the order of them and not let them go to previous ones. I think if you jump over one or you did skip a checkpoint, it is okay to go back and activate it. I don't really see a problem with that. So I'm gonna go die after I hit this checkpoint just to kind of showcase this, because we only saw it when I was falling into the ground. There we go. Now we're back and we can move. So cool, excellent news, but we need to fix the initial if we die before we hit the checkpoint. Let's do that. And that will be when we spawn the characters would be the best place to do that. Because we spawn each character, we have each reference here. So see this? We're setting the array element, the character index, all that. Again, this is the loop body. So for each one, we have the actor transform of the character. We have the spawn transform. So all we need to do, do we have the specific player? This is the specific player, right? I think so. This is the player's array, get at this index. So this should be the player, but this will be a copy. I mean, we could do it that way. That's no problem. I'm just trying to figure out if that's how I want to handle it. Because we could also, right when we spawn them, like literally off of this, set that value before we even possess or anything. Because we already have get. Let's just do it. Let's just do it off that. We already have get actor transform there. It's going to be a little bit uglier because I am going to kind of arbitrarily extend this for a second. But are these coming out of the same thing? Yes, they are. So we will avoid that. Do this. Oh, that's annoying. It's either gotta sit on that or okay. Oh, regardless. Do this, and we'll spawn them, and we have the character here, so we can set checkpoint, last checkpoint location. I'm gonna have to bring this down anyway, so it's not a big deal. Bring that down. And actually, I mean, if I'm being honest, bring that down again. There we go. And we will set this value to, we already have get actor transform. I mean, we could break it just like this. We could also just get location either way. It doesn't really matter. And we'll do it like that. Okay. And this way, when we die, assuming we did this correctly, when we die, we don't need to hit a checkpoint to have a spawn location. We should spawn where we initially spawned. There we go. And you can see we did it. Cool. So now we can't fall out of the map, or if we can, not when it's functioning properly, right? We have our checkpoints that we can hit, but we could go and hit another checkpoint. So let's put a few of them next to each other in the level. Like, great, we have this one. Now let's go. No, that's not what I wanted. Can I grab you? Thank you. So let's copy this, put it here, copy this, put it here. Some of these are they're a little bit closer than the others to each other. 3's fine, we don't need to go overboard. So we have these 3 checkpoints. If we were to, go all the way to, say, the 3rd one. 1, 2, 3. And then I run into the enemies up here. I'm going to spawn at the last one. And we did. You can see we have more to my left. If I run back left and I die to this guy, oh, I never increase my health when we respawn, by the way. Then I respawn at the first one. So that's not what we want. We don't want to be able to do that. Or at least that was what we set up for the game. You can do whatever you want. Maybe do a material swap on the instance to show it's active or anything. Yeah, we're definitely going to do something because it is a little bit... We just have to test it the whole way, so we're going to need to do something. I was thinking material swap as well, just to kind of change it from yellow to something else. But, so, on the checkpoint, we'll do that after this, because this is the last thing I really wanted to cover as far as checkpoints went, as far as the functionality went. So we'll say, has been activated. You can say was activated, whatever. But basically, this is going to be false by default, and once this becomes true, we are never going to set it to be false again for that instance. So we only want to set the last checkpoint location if this is not already true. Okay? So watch this. We set it after the character collides with it. But before we even do that, we can get it. We can do branch. And only if it has not been activated off of false do we do any of the other logic. Now, you could actually... You could do the cast first if you wanted to. You don't have to by any means, but I don't mind doing the cast first because you may want to deter... You know, you might want to do an autosave if you collide with it. So you may want to cast first and still do things, but we just don't want to set the last checkpoint location. If it has not been activated yet, then we will set this. And we can bring it down, that's fine. Something like that is good. Organize a little bit more. Alright, and now if we do the same thing, we should not be able to... we'll still be able to spawn there. It's just it won't be able to override it with one of the earlier ones. So say we go along, just like we did, same test case. We're going to jump over everyone. We can touch all the checkpoints. The last one we touched was the farthest one to the right. And we collide. We collide. Wait for invincibility. We collide. Now I will spawn at the third one. Okay. Now if I walk back to these other ones and die to this guy, then I will still spawn at the third one. Because I was not able to override my last checkpoint with one of the earlier checkpoints that we had already activated. Now you may want that, you may not, so feel free to include that or not. Up to you. Alright, one more thing I have to fix, and I should fix the HUD as well for each character since there's multiple characters now. And then we can go over making maybe a material or just doing a swap for the checkpoints, because it would look much better and we can't tell which one's activated right now other than by pure logic. So once we respawn, before we can act even, I am going to set the the health back to the default. I can set it to be, I can't remember if I used 3 or... I did lives at 3 and then health at 2. Oof. That is ugly. Okay, I'll probably update that, but for now, let's just set the health back to 2. And then, so this will give us all of our hits back once we respawn. Let's go fix the HUD, because the HUD only works for the one character. It's only set to work for get player character 0, which we want it to work for the character that is taking the damage. Which actually I may need to use the index and take damage then. I'll see if I can do it in the HUD. It depends on, I forget exactly what we did in there. If we're just grabbing the health, then we just have to switch the character. So the character, I believe, spawns the HUD for everybody. Yeah, because they have update health icons in here. So that's fine, but we don't actually want to create the HUD for everyone. We would really rather just have one HUD that either switches or we hide HUDs when we switch characters. We could have them all, but only display the one of the active character. I actually want that part where you can go back to older checkpoints. That fits what I'm doing perfectly. Okay, so if you want that part to go back to older checkpoints, that's perfect. Just don't include the Boolean that I included. Don't include, what am I doing? Don't include has been activated, okay? So don't do this branch and don't do this set. Then anytime you collide with a previous checkpoint, it will set the last checkpoint location. and you will absolutely be able to go back to prior checkpoints. Okay. So, now, we were creating a HUD every time in the base character BP. That's kind of good. The problem with that is, now that we have multiple characters we can swap between, we can play as a few of the different characters in the scene, then each of them creates a character HUD. So now, what we can do is, we can create one for each of them if we want, but we either have to hide them until they're the character until that's the character that's playing, or we need to have one general HUD. I think it's okay to have multiple HUDs for each, a HUD for each character, because in some games you have different HUDs that have different, they look different, right? You have a HUD for this character or a HUD for this character, and their HUDs maybe are a little bit different looking. They have a different font, they have a different picture style, different things like that. So you can have one HUD and change all those things, or you can have 3 HUDs and just hide them. It's not really going to be a big deal performance-wise. If it's hidden, it doesn't have to render, which is the biggest thing. If you do have a lot of complexity in your HUD, like a lot of things that are changing, maybe on the MMO side, you probably will only want to have one HUD at a time and just switch the values. It probably would be easier. But in this case, I don't think it's a big deal. So, I'm going to still leave these being spawned in begin play here, but I'm not going to add it to the viewport, or if I'm probably not going to add it to the viewport right off the bat. I will have to add one of them, the character that we actually pick. So I could check, I can still do get player controller 0 and do that, but really, and this is not the right way to do this, but really you could have get player character and spawn these HUDs as opposed to just a controller. You can't plug it in here. This needs a controller, but because that's where it goes to. But the you could have the character with each HUD, with each matching HUD. So I think the best way to handle this is to trying to see, do we have a game mode reference in here? We do not. We just have the HUD reference. I don't really want to keep an array of HUD references, so I think we're going to move this out of begin play. I know I said we're going to keep it, but I think we are going to move it out, and we're going to spawn it in the game mode, and we are going to, we can still spawn one for each character, but we're going to hide them as needed. Blueprints logic. This is begin play. This is where we're setting all the values. We can still do this. This is perfectly fine. We'll create one in the game mode reference. And I will actually create this HUD reference variable. The reason for that is because if I create that variable, I can still, I can still have the owner. I can still have this thing that I can reference to change, and I don't want to get rid of it. But I need to make sure that I have a reference to every HUD that is there. If I'm going to do it this way, I want to make sure that I have them all. Otherwise, I'll have to do get all actors of class to get rid of it, which is fine, actually. It's not really a big deal. But we can just do HUD references. We make this an array. We can do that. We can refresh this. We can not set this, but get this. And we can add it. Add unique just to be safe. Shouldn't really matter because of the way our for loop is set up, but doesn't hurt. And set this up something like that. There we go. And then we can add to viewport. And we will do, trying to see, so we're gonna add these in the order that the characters are spawned, so we can also access them the same way we access the characters here. So because of that, we don't want to add them all. Okay, here's what we can do. I'm not gonna add it to viewport when the loop is going. I'm gonna wait until the loop completes. Okay, when we're out of player starts, we're done spawning characters, and I'm gonna spawn. I'm gonna have this here, add to viewport. Let me move some of this down. We're gonna spawn this uncompleted, because what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab the last character, so the character that we have possessed. Is that how that works? Can't remember how we determine what character. Yeah, we just possess them in the order we spawn them. So the last one that is there gets possessed. So the last character will be the last HUD reference that we want. So we get this, and we get length. Now length returns the number of elements, not the indices. So we have to do -1. And we have to get that. Don't need to do that, we can just do get. It will be a copy, but that's fine. As far as I know, I think it's fine. I think you can just do add to viewport off the copy, because we don't have to change anything in it. We're just going to access the data. The changing will be on the actual widget. And we do this on complete. Something like that. It's a little messy, but in terms of functionality, I actually think it's pretty solid. I'm not doubting that. So let's try it. So we have 3 hearts, but okay, they don't go down. So what went wrong? Oh, because I'm not calling it. I don't have that HUD reference anymore. I need my HUD reference to do this. I'm not setting it. So okay, my bad. I need to update this. This needs to have the game mode. What? I did not mean to do that. I don't really like doing this like after this. Really, we could set the game mode reference to self when we spawn them. Which actually, that's probably better. Let's just do that. Let's not make things more confusing. It doesn't hurt anything, but I'm just like, if we're going to be spawning more than one character at a time of the same class, then it could be worth it. Oh, but we can only get a copy. We'd have to set the array element. I mean, it doesn't matter, but actually, I think I am just gonna do it this way. Yes, we still have half an hour, and we'll be finishing this up. We should have some time to mess with the checkpoints. Cast to base game mode, EP. And then we want to promote this to a variable called game mode reference. And we're going. We have the reference here, so what we can do is grab the you can get, instead of HUD reference here, we can do game mode reference, get HUD reference, HUD references, and then we'll do get. It will be a copy again, but that should be okay because we're just reading the data. We want to get character index. Plug that in. Whatever character this is the HUD. That's where we want to get the HUD from. Something like that should be good. It's a little ugly because it shoots out all the way over there. Should get what we need. I don't know if that's everything yet. Okay, it's not everything just yet. So that should work. Okay, so I can delete this safely. Let me see the health widget with the hide heart, how that works. This is the widget. There's one, hide it. I think that should work. Let me see what's going wrong here. So we only do this once we're done spawning all the characters. We say this is the one, length -1. So length would be 10 if there was 0 through 9, so length minus 1. Oh, I did this totally wrong. Hold on. Plug this in here. And we'll have to readjust this. Add this one to the viewport. The Shawn hasn't connected the length minus 1 to get. Thank you. You are correct. I like that you said the Shawn. Correct. Okay, so now things are working as intended. So now the character that we are controlling has the heart shown up. Now they won't come back. The hearts will not come back because we don't have anything to make the heart visible again. They also won't switch HUDs when we switch characters because we are currently doing it on this. So when we swap to another character, we need to remove the current HUD and replace it with the other HUD. All right? So let's do that. We swap the character here. This is in the game mode BP, so we can just do this here as well. We need to grab the HUD reference. We may want to have like is visible up. That way... because I don't really want to do it from the previous index. Yeah, let's do it that way. So let's, on the HUD itself, let's have a variable to determine if it's up or not. That way we can just remove it. Because I would like to, well, yeah, I don't want to hack it. Let's just do that. That'll be just a surefire way to do it. Let's do character HUD. Let's add a variable. Add a boolean. Is active. Actually, I'll say is... oh, yeah, I can't do it. Say is visible. Because technically active has a different... oh, that also has something. Is on screen. How about that? Is on screen. Now, when we go to swap the character, we're going to possess them, all that good stuff. Oh, yeah, we could just do it. We could do it after. So we take control of the character. We want to get our HUD references. Okay. And we're going to loop through them. And this time we can actually use the break, too. We're going to loop through them. And we are going to determine if they are on screen. If they are on screen, we want to set... I'm just going to set them to be invisible. We can remove them and then add them to the viewport. Actually, I think we can just... I think remove from parent would actually be okay here. Sorry. Branch. If it is on screen, we want to remove it. I think it would be okay here because I think the data will stay safe since it is a copy. So remove from... oh. Yes, I know. Remove from parent. Okay. If it doesn't, we'll just have to be invisible. But I think it will work the way we set it up. And then that will cut down on some of our memory. So that would be good if it did. And then if it does, we should technically break because there should only be one at a time. Alright. I think you could just check the visibility of it. Actually, you don't even need an is on screen, but that's perfectly fine. So it is on screen, and when we add it to the viewport, we want to say that, yes, this is on screen. Oh, but this is the copy, so we would have to be careful with this. Question is, it won't go back into the array. Yeah, but we would need to set the member. Oh, that can't. It has to happen for struct, doesn't it? But it's fine. We'll just check if it. We'll just literally check if it's visible. Then I want to do this. I thought it would be a little bit cleaner. But if we do this, then I do have to have the reference to it, and I want to avoid that. So we'll just leave that alone. We won't add this boolean. We won't do this. What we will do. Well, we can keep the branch. We want to check if it's visible. check if this is visible. Okay. And then if it is, we want to remove from the parent. Oh, but the other question is, if we remove it from parent, is it considered visible? Or do we have to just set it to be invisible? We'll find out. I mean, that's a good thing to know. I actually do not know the answer to that. So that could fix issues down the line if that is a problem. So when we swap, we are going to remove this one from parent. And then we need to set up the new one. And basically all we have to do is this. Add to viewport. And it's going to be HUD references. See this index we have? We'll drag this down here. Let me organize this a bit better. Move this over. HUD references, and we'll do a get down here. We'll add it. Do it on completed. And we will plug in this value. This is the character index, which remember lines up with our HUD index because that's when we spawn them. Alright. Now we'll see. If this does not work, then we know that removing from parent is not exactly... Okay, it looks good so far. It does display the other health. Can I lose my health? And of course, I now put this guy in the way. That's funny. That's funny. Okay. The correct answer is actually, though, that... So, okay, so just so you're aware what's going on, is that this is not able to remove it. So, when I do this, it spawns another one, because it did not actually remove the top one. It put them on top of each other, and now it's creating a new one, adding to the viewport, and it doesn't want to create it on top of the other value. Fine. So instead of removing it, see, I don't know though. So you remove it from parent, but that doesn't set the visibility of it. Oh, or is it because the other ones aren't removed from... It could be that. Okay, if this doesn't work, we'll set the visibility. But I'm curious about this, too. Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm curious about this, too. So if we loop through them and we remove them all every time... No, it doesn't. Okay. Alright. So let me print this out. Let me make sure this is working when I want it to. It just isn't removing the others. Okay. It is doing it, but yeah, it's just not going to get rid of it. Alright, that's fine. So it's not gonna consider that. Alright, so yeah, HUD reference get from this character and add it to the viewport. But we don't want to when we switch add the other ones. Let me get rid of this. Wait, hold on. Give me a second. So we're removing it, and then we are adding it again, and that would be fine. But when we add it, it is visible. So I would think that it would mark it as... Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate that. Does it say? Okay. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you letting me know that. Okay. Let me think for a second. So we grab the HUD reference and we grab it at... We just loop through it and we check if it's visible. I mean, we could just nuke all of them and just add the new one. We could probably do that. Actually, that would be good anyway. If you happen to have two up at the same time, it'll get rid of them when you swap characters. Alright, we'll just do that. We won't break, and we won't do a check. We will loop through, and we will remove them from parent. And in that case, we can move that back over a little bit and move this back. Oh, that's good how it is. Weird. So one of them is not getting removed when we add here. How do references get? Oh, no, that's what's happening. It's because this is a copy, isn't it? Because this will never be here. That's what it is. Okay. Alright, so what we were doing probably would have worked. The problem is, I believe the problem is, I mean, we can find out for sure. I can do a check. But the problem is, when we're not doing this in begin play the character anymore. So we're dealing with a reference of this object in this array. If we're adding to the viewport from the copy is not getting removed. It's not representing what is getting looped through here. You see that? I think so, because every time this loop is completed, so every time we swap characters is the only time we were adding to it. So if I do this, you know, nothing's happening. We're not adding to it at any point. But since we're not actually, we are removing something, but we're not actually removing the thing that's on the screen. We're removing this object that's not actually on the screen from the parent. It's not going to give us an issue. It's just going to say, yep, that's what you're doing. So, to do that, the way we can get around that, let me show you, is we can not do a for each loop, okay? We can do a for loop. Sorry, we can do a for loop like this. And then we can grab the actual index. Or can we not in Blueprint? We can do it in code. Yeah, it changes to, I get that now, but we're gonna have to make an object reference. I think we are. Okay, fine. So let's take a step back. We're still gonna do it the way we're doing it, but this is gonna be a problem because this is a copy. This is getting added. So every time we were to do that, let me take a step. So now, every time this loop completes, we are adding the character index that we were given, and we're grabbing that to add to the viewport. The problem is that we have no way of actually removing that after unless we were to keep a reference to that one that was up. So we're going to have to make an object reference of the one that's visible. That way we can just remove that one. Let me answer this really quickly. Alright. So that is what we will do, guys. So my apologies for this. It's okay to add it like this, but when we remove, we have to remove the one that's on the screen. We don't need to loop through it. So let me do that, and let me do this. And I have to go grab something really quickly. I will be right back, and then we will sort this out. So give me 1 second. Alright, thank you. Alright guys, I'm coming back with the real stuff. I could have put up "Be Right Back," but I intentionally didn't because I want you to see this. I've got food now, which I'll not be eating on the live stream, don't worry. But I basically have to be locked in this room afterward. Morgan has to do some stuff for school, and it's gonna be it's gotta be completely quiet here because she's got a lot of concentration. She's doing a lot of mock stuff that is gonna be important. So that's why I said I could go a little bit later today. But now I have food preparations. So in case I have to, I don't know why this stopped. Thank you. So in case I have to do this, in case I have to be here for a while, I have rations that I can use. All right. So we figured out the issue was this copy thing, but we're gonna need to have a reference to the active HUD. The HUD references is okay. That's perfectly good. But since we can only get a copy from it, when we add something to the viewport, we need to be able to see what's on the viewport and get rid of it. We might also be able to just get all references to that widget and remove them from parent because it would actually get the copy as well. So I don't know if it really matters in terms of which one's better. This one, you know, it wouldn't have to do the loop to get the specific HUD. No need to be sorry about that. I mean, I thought it was funny. That's why I left it going, because I'm like, I got my rations now. Okay, so yeah, anyway, that was the issue. So the one is a little bit longer. We will have to loop through it, but it will prevent any issues. It will automatically get rid of all the ones that we had prior, so we will do that. We will just try that. We're gonna get all widgets of class. And we're gonna do this. And we're gonna pick up our character HUD. And we're gonna loop through these. Now these are a copy, okay? But the thing is, this is going to get all of them. It's not gonna make the copy from a HUD reference and add it. This is gonna get all the ones regardless if they're copies or not. Makes no difference. And then we will just remove them. Alright. And this should work even before we add the others. I think this will be good. You can see that there's none there. And now when we add the others, I think it will still work. Actually, still doesn't work. It still won't remove. So what am I doing wrong here? This is only happening on complete. This is happening one time, and then they get removed, and then it adds the next one. Character HUD, remove from parent. Get this, add it to the viewport. Yeah, so that's why I was trying to avoid it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on exactly, because there's something wrong here where it's adding 2 of it. Is it bad? I don't do it, you know, I don't use it in the tutorials because I use it 1 or 2 times in the tutorials because I want to wipe everything. I know I want to wipe all of them. So it's a safe way to do that. Is it bad? No, you'd rather have a reference to it, which is why I don't like that I have this copy here. I'm trying to avoid having to keep track of every, like, I want to be able to create it and remove it. And I'm trying to avoid having to put in the character because we have all this in the game mode. That's why I'm doing this right now. So good question. Yeah, it's not ideal, but I'm just a little bit confused right now of why when I add this, it's getting added to here. This should only happen when I swap characters. Oh. I think I know what's going on because I think this is, hold on, give me 1 second. Let me see. Okay, so, okay, here. Watch this. Alright, removing, adding. So it's doing 1 of each. 1 of each. 1 of each. Okay. So, new approach, guys, because I don't want to say I'm an idiot. I see it makes sense. I don't want to say I'm an idiot because I don't feel like it should be designed this way, but okay. Let me swap this around, guys. I apologize. So, when we swap characters here, we have our array of widgets. Now, we can remove this from the parent and never add another one. And what you will see is that we will have this, and it will never create another one. But the problem here is that it can add it on a different index because we check if the index is over top, like we just increase the index and then set it back. But the index we're giving doesn't have to do that. So we basically set one and spawn it, and we just say, okay, we forget about it. And that's the problem, okay? Because it is the right amount, but it's the wrong index. So to fix that, let me think about this for a second, because I was very confused. I'm like, how is this not working, right? I was very confused about that. Now I want to go back, if I can. I don't know how long it actually might let me. Okay. So now we are back here, and we are going to remove our HUD references, as I wanted to in the beginning. But the problem is, we have to make sure we're not adding this to one we will never access again, because that's the character index. So if I print this out, okay, it's printing out the one that it's going to go to. And you can see 2012. I don't know, maybe that's not it either. I don't exactly know what I'm doing wrong here. I'm not adding to the array, so it should be... Man, I am trying to think. It's not the index issue. Do I have something in the widget? I don't think so. I have that one event, that's it. The character HUD. What does the character HUD have? Ah, I see. Okay. That's fascinating. Yeah, okay. Alright. So, now we're getting all actors of class when we construct this HUD, and we're getting our character. Now, we're getting character 0 and checking their health. Fine. I mean, not really fine, because when we have the HUD on the screen, you know, we don't want to necessarily do this, but we're removing the wrong HUD reference, guys. We're creating HUD references, and we have to realize that the HUD has this box. The box is what has the hearts. So when so let me show you, because this is me being an idiot again. I got confused over my HUD and my heart. So let's see how we can differentiate this. Let's get experience on each character. Alright. Check this out. It was blowing my mind for a good minute. Oh, that was fascinating. Alright. Now we have this. Let's get different experience levels. We'll leave the first one empty. We'll have this one at 2 experience. Alright. Or 3, because we're just going to kill all this. Now, when we swap between these, you can see that the HUD is working. You know what's not working? The hearts. It's not the HUD. I thought I'm like, I'm going insane. Like, how is this happening? The HUD is working. The hearts are not working. Because every time we do begin play of the HUD is when we add the hearts. You see that? So we need to remove them from the health horizontal box. That took me like way longer than it should have, so I apologize. But luckily we have extra time today. Okay, so we need to, when we remove something from parent, we're removing it from visibility, we're removing it as a child of that index. But it doesn't, we had top level only. top level only does not go through and remove everything that it is a child of. Okay? Alright. So, when we have this copy, we won't get anything out of it. You see that? We won't remove anything from it. We have to remove everything that is there. The hearts are not part of the HUD. The hearts are their own. They get added to their horizontal box. We were never removing them from the horizontal box. So we would add more when it would go to begin play here. Okay. So this is the only print string. Hello, hello, hello. We switch. Sure. It's adding it to the horizontal box. Sure. And it's printing it again. We wouldn't want it to do that, now would we? Okay. So sorry about that, guys, but now hopefully you see the issue. Now, the solution here is not too bad. We can just remove these from the health horizontal box. Easy enough. The other solution we could have is we could just not do this logic if it was already spawned once. Yep, no, I know, and that's okay. That's actually why I'm not upset about it. That's why I do this on purpose. I don't do any sort of planning during the live stream because the whole thing when I started, it was I want to be able to show the bugs and what my thought process is. So, you know, it's perfectly okay. I'm not like sitting here, oh my god, I'm sweating and, you know, everyone's thinking I'm a bad coach. No, it's nothing like that. I'm not worried about that. I was more just like, what the heck could I be missing? Like, I thought I was going crazy. I'm like, I definitely know how this works. But now we know what the issue is. So we can either remove these and they will get added each time back with the health of the character. That's perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. We are setting the character back to their correct health when we lose health. But the problem is we are always getting the 0 index of the Twitch game character. So if we just remove them and add them back, we will get the wrong health amount. We will get the correct health for player 0. And then we will add them back. We don't want to add them back if we already have the health there. And that's why we don't want to remove it from parent if we're doing this in begin play. So we can either remove it and not remove from parent, or sorry, we can either remove it and only add back the correct characters, or we can just set them to be invisible, which I was saying, oh, you know, why would you want to do that but you can see, you can see what I got myself into with that. So let's make it invisible. Instead of calling remove from parent, we can set visibility like this. And instead of adding it to the viewport like this, we can set visibility like that. Alright, and then we can go set visibility here, and it will be hidden here, invisible here. I said earlier, and I'm staying true to this, I don't think there's any issue with having 3 of these up. If you have an MMO or something bigger, you are going to only want to have 1. So that's when you would definitely go the route to remove. Now I think I have the right index. I don't have it breaking, so it will loop through and remove them all, but that's okay. There shouldn't really be more than 1 ever anyway. Oh, okay. They have to be added the first time, though. They were never added the first time. So let's... Alright. Let us... Whoops, sorry about that. Do this. Let us add them to the viewport in the loop. I'll zoom out so you guys know what I'm doing. There we go. So we're going to add it to the viewport in the loop, and then we're actually going to set it to be invisible by default. Because if we do this, this means, yes, they're all there, but they're invisible. And then we only toggle the one that's visible when we're done with the loop here. I'm also going to do it at the end of the loop because we don't always necessarily want the last one. Say we have we want to start with the first character that we have, but we want to spawn them all the same way. Well, now we can set the specific one to be visible that we want. In this case, I want it to be the last one. Now, you can see that everyone has their correct health. Now let's lose health. Okay. He is stuck because I unpossessed him. Alright, and now you can see that everyone is acting as they are supposed to. So, sorry that took a little bit longer than normal, but now that's fixed, and I'm happy with the solution. So now we have our heart HUD fixed, as well as our character HUD. The last thing I would like to do, we're a little bit over, but I don't mind because I have some time tonight. Last thing I would like to do is, yes, change something about this checkpoint when we do it. It can be as simple as changing the material in slot 1. I don't mind. So once it's been activated, saying we can't activate it again, let's just change something about the mesh. Let's grab the mesh and change the material. We can literally set the material at index 0. It can be this simple. I would like to set it to... pick something. It kind of looks like it's lit already. You could actually unlight it. Just make it like that. I don't know what that'll look like, but we can try. You can see the light actually goes out when we walk into it, and that's how you know it's been activated. So there you go, guys. That's everything I wanted to cover today. We have respawning, dying. I don't actually do anything with like game over, but we don't have a menu or anything, so best case scenario, we set them back to the initial spawn point, or you know, open the level. We'll have to figure out what we want to do with that, because I don't know if I want to get rid of their progress, like if we keep their experience or not when they die. You know what I mean? Because if we have multiple levels, we can keep it through levels or through checkpoints even, but we might not want to keep it if we get a game over. If we lose all our lives, I'm not sure. So we'll figure out what to do with that. But there we go. I feel like that's pretty awesome. I feel very happy, very satisfied with what we have. And yeah. Oh, I do realize that there's a bug where if you swap, you end up dying and they don't come back. Well, it's not really a bug, we just never did anything for it. We never added them back when you respawn. So we will have to do that. We'll probably do that now. And then that'll be the last thing we do. So that is in our... Thank you, I appreciate that. We'll do that now. So we have the health widget, which is an individual health component, and then our character HUD has the hearts added to them initially in begin play. And that's actually okay. We can keep this. We can add another event to the HUD, add a custom event, and just call it like restock hearts. Or I can even just call it respawn HUD, like literally respawn HUD. And that way anything we want to do once we respawn on the HUD can be done here. I like to do this, that way in case I ever have to move it. These both go to the same thing. And then we just have to call this when we respawn. So the only one I know of right now is actually through the character HUD. Like I don't know if we have a respawn event that goes to Blueprint. We have that the respawn and the project ending there. So I'm trying to think. I think when we actually respawn and teleport is when we should get our lives back. So I will make an event here that we can call that will trigger the HUD event in the blueprint. Let's make a blueprint implementable event. Oh, we have update health icons though, which is to take one away, but I wonder what did we do in that? Where exactly was that done? Update health icons. Alright, I'm out myself. Good night, mate. Thank you so much for coming by, and have a good night. Oh, it's this one right here. So we give it the health. We say if it's greater than equal to... Or if it's less than 0. Oh, and that shows which one. Yeah. But that's just to hide it. We never gain them back. Is hide just setting a bit? Okay. All we have to do, we can actually just do it like this. We can do, I will still make another event because I feel like it's the right move here. But we probably will need to be able to gain hearts back in the future by picking something up or something like that. So what I will have is make another event. We'll say update HUD upon respawn. That way it's very specific. Anything we want to do after respawning can be done. So we'll say update HUD upon respawn. Okay, I think that's probably good. Right after, well, it should actually be after we set the health too, just to be safe in case we want to do it off of that. And then I will have to close this, reopen this one more time. And after I open it again, then I will call the event, and we will call the HUD event off of the HUD of the character that died. At that point, I think we will be done, solid, no bugs with the system for what we're dealing with right now. Okay, so we should have... What did I call it already? Was it update HUD upon respawn? Cool. And this can go, I mean, it can go at the bottom. It can go, I'm probably gonna make it, where the heck did I go? I'm gonna make it, it's fine, we'll just go in order. All right. And we're gonna get our game mode reference and get the HUD reference. We're going to get, this should, again, another thing that should be okay is a copy, because we don't have to change the widget, we just have to access which one is visible, which one is on screen. And we're going to pass in the character index of this character. That's only for the correct HUD. And we don't need to call the HUD event like I was going to do because of the way we're doing it here. Since we can just do it, we can just make them visible again instead of adding them again. I think I put it in character HUD, right? We can get rid of this. We don't need to do that because that'll create new ones. So if we're not going to be removing them, we're just setting their visibility. Then we go back in here and we get the health horizontal box so that we can get all the hearts. And we're going to loop through this. Or get all children is what it is. And we're going to loop through this. Now, these are the heart icons. Technically, we probably do want to cast them to the heart. It doesn't really matter. We could actually just set visibility without doing that. We should probably have something like gain heart, but it's probably fine. For today's episode, just to make them come back, we can just set them all to be visible. Compile that, save that, and this should work as long as I am not silly. Alright, let's try it. Thank you so much for subscribing. I appreciate that. I really appreciate that. I have one bug here, which I feel like is just because it didn't build properly. Did I not ever remove them? It's weird. I don't think it was the new logic. The hide heart. Oh, I disconnected. I did that, so the game mode, give me 1 second. Logic, game mode. We add them all to the viewport, but we set them all to be hidden. And there we go. Now you will see it. No, wait, what did I set them all to be hidden? Oh, I set them all to be hidden here. Visible, my bad. Now you will see it. Alright, back to this. Oh, I disconnected that. Okay, back to this. Sorry, I did not see your name for who subscribed, so I wasn't trying to ignore your name. I just genuinely did not see it because I was being an idiot and looking in the wrong spot. Now, when we die, we will respawn. It'll call the respawn logic, and it was supposed to add our hearts back. Actually, it's not. Let me see. Game mode reference, HUD reference, character index. Get that health horizontal box. Get all the children. Set them to be visible. Thank you so much, Dave. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That is awesome. Thank you. Okay, so update health icons. This only gets called when we take damage, right? As far as I'm aware. So I would think that I'm doing this part correctly. Get all children of the health horizontal box. Do I have to cast it to the type? That seems a little weird. Seems like I shouldn't have to do that. 1 second here. Set the visibility to be hidden on the heart image. Oh, okay. It's not the. I didn't hide the widget. I hid the image. So I need to loop through health horizontal box. Get all the children. Get heart image. I'm gonna have to cast it to this. So I get the health widget. And I get heart image. And I set visible. And okay, let's try it again. You're going to die. And there you go. Spawn with all your hearts back. So cool. Now we have our hearts coming back when we die. We have the ability for all of our logic. So our level, our HUD, our hearts, our experience, our... there's something else that we did. I can't remember exactly what. But we have all that logic working for the specific character that we are controlling. So we support multiple characters. And we have the ability to gain hearts back just in general. We will have to, not just force all of them to be visible, but pass in an index or something, the same way that we took them away. But this is good news now, so I'm feeling pretty good about this. We have the ability to spawn back at checkpoints. We have the ability to disable checkpoints. We have the checkpoints changing in appearance once you've activated them. And when we die, we actually respawn at those checkpoints. There you go. So everything's working as intended, and I feel pretty good about it. So, and it took a little bit longer this episode, but I had a little bit extra time, so it doesn't hurt anything. I am going to wrap it up there. I think that's a good spot to stop, but thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. As always, it's a fun stream, and I really enjoy working on the side-scroller game. Reminds me a lot of Castlevania, and I'm excited to continue. So, yeah, that's all I got. I will be back next Friday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, I stream on Twitch, Shawnthebro27, for Monday and Wednesday, 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We do multiplayer Monday, so play a multiplayer game. And Wednesday, I do Souls games. We're working on Bloodborne right now. So, thank you so much for watching. That's all I got for you, so I'll just let you go instead of rambling on and on. I'm Shawnthebro, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye, everyone. Okay, I love how my mouse disappeared when I tried to do that, by the way. Alright, thank you so much, guys. I'll see you later.